My name is Nelly. Welcome to the Walk the Talk Teacher podcast. This is the second episode, and today's episode is called Is Mind Locked and Is Land Locked? If you didn't hear the first episode where I was telling you about who I am, why I'm creating this, I shared that I'm originally from Rwanda, country in Africa, and currently I live in Boston. And I'm an American, but I'm Rwandan first. And if you know me, the way I'm in America, I couldn't be here if it wasn't for the people of Rwanda who have invested in me through a presidential scholarship. And I found myself studying and making my life in America. As such, I feel obligated and I feel like I owe the people of Rwanda the fruits of the plant that they planted. As such, every episode I will put out for this podcast, the first couple minutes I will run them in Kinyarwanda. I will talk to my people in Rwanda. If you do not listen or understand Kinyarwanda, I totally understand. You can fast forward, and I'm guessing right now it's 2 minutes 30 something seconds. I'm gonna take about 2 to 3 minutes to talk to Rwandans specifically. And then after that, I'll come back and I'll tell you what I want to talk about today. Banyarwanda, Banyarwandakazi, izina ryanjye ni Sugira Joseph Neri, ndi umunyarwanda nkamwe, mba muri Amerika hano bita muri Boston. Iki kiganiro ni ikintu bita podcast. Niba uzi icyo podcast aricyo, ni nk'aho ari ikiganiro kiba kuri radiyo tu. Noneho ariko ni nk'aho buri wese ufite internet, ufite mudasobwa uko abantu babyita, ushobora nawe kugira ikiganiro cyawe. Sasa njyewe narebye nsanga ibintu byose maze kugeraho ntabisangije abantu. Ni nk'aho kwaba ari ukugira ubugugu kubera ko ibyo mfite byose ntabyo navukanye. Nanjye nakuze ndi umunyarwanda, nakuriye mu Gitega, mu cyahafi mu by'ukuri, munsi y'iposita. Nize muri ka Kigali, ariko ubu ngubu ndi muri Amerika. Perezida wa Repubulika yampaye buruse yo kujya kwiga, noneho ndahagera nkora ubuzima, ariko ubuzima nakoze ntabwo ari ubuzima busanzwe tu, ntabwo ari ubuzima, ni ubuzima ndeba nkavuga nti kabisa nanjye ahantu nageze. Ariko noneho nasubiza amaso inyuma nkareba ahantu naturutse. Ngubu hano kuri computer yanjye hari ifoto nafite imyaka 12, nambaye akantu k'akajakete k'umukara, mpagaze mu rugo muri salo, hari nko muri 90, ndakeka muri 98, 97 muri salo. Urumva nyine harashize nk'imyaka nk'itatu habaye nyuma ya jenoside. Muri salo hari shitingi z'icyatsi, mu rugo hakenye byatana. Iki kiganiro nakise ni nk'ikibazo mbaza nti ese twaba dufunze mu mutwe cyangwa twaba ko ndibuka twiga geography batubwira ukuntu u Rwanda ari igihugu nyine gifite mu mbibi zaho hari ibindi bihugu nta mazi ahari, nta mato atugeraho. Noneho mu cyongereza babyita landlocked, ni ukuvuga ubutaka bwacu burakorotiriye nyine, nta mbibi duhana n'amato, ni ukuvuga nta commerce, nta bucuruzi, ntaki. Bakajya bahora batubaza ngo u Rwanda ngo ni ibihugu biri landlocked. Ariko ko ahantu nagiye ngera nasanze mu by'ukuri ikintu gituma ugera aho ugera ntabwo ari aho wavukiye, ntabwo ari igihugu wavukiyemo, nabyo bigira icyo bimara. Ariko ngiye mu buzima nabayeho, nasanze ikintu cya mbere buriya gishobora kugufasha kugera imbere cyangwa se kugusubiza inyuma ni mu mutwe. Ibingibi nibyo ngiye kuganira. Sasa impamvu ndi kuvuga mu Kinyarwanda gutya nuko ndabizi neza yuko abantu benshi bari kuri YouTube, bari kuri za WhatsApp, bari kumva ibiganiro by'Imana, bari kuvuga abantu batera amatiku, ibintu byinshi cyane. none nagira nkwisabire niba uri kumva ibi ngibi uvuga ikinyarwanda, nta urumva nyine ngomba kujya kuvuga mu cyongereza kubera ko icyongereza nicyo cyumvwa n'abantu benshi cyane, kubera ko mu by'ukuri ndashaka gukora amafaranga, ntabwo ngiye kubeshya. Abenshi muri mwe ntabwo mushobora kumva icyo kiganiro ndi kuvuga mu cyongereza kubera ko ntabwo wumva icyongereza, cyangwa icyongereza uzi ntabwo gihagije. Cyangwa se abenshi ntabwo ushobora kuzagera kumva icyo kiganiro cyangwa se kumva izo nama wenda nshobora gutanga, cyangwa se ubuzima bwanjye ndi kubasha gukuraho amasomo ngo wenda nyaho undi muntu, cyangwa se nawe ushobora kugeraho kubera ko wenda udafite za telefoni nyine za smartphone n'iki byinshi cyane. So ni ukuvuga ngo inama nakugira niba ushaka gutera imbere aho uriho hose, njye nakugira inama, niba udafite telefoni za zindi nka za iPhone cyangwa za Android zimwe ziri smart, niba hari umuntu ukugirira neza, nuvuga iyo ngiyo bari ugira nimero ya mbere. Ni nimero ya kabiri, niba utazi icyongereza, kora uko ushoboye kose ukige, kubera ko ni nk'aho ari rwo rufunguzo rushobora kugeza ahandi, kubera ko ibintu byinshi ukeneye ntabwo byanditswe mu kinyarwanda, ibintu byinshi ukeneye ntabwo byanditswe. Iga icyongereza niba ubishoboye, umuntu uzakubuza uzamenye ko ntabwo ari guteza imbere. Anyway, so back to my English speaking people. Now let's get in. Today's episode is called Is Mine Locked or Is Land Locked? And to understand this, at the end of this thing, I'll explain it. It's a little conditional statement if you understand a little bit of programming, but it's a play on words. All my time growing up, as far back as I can remember, and if anybody grew up in Rwanda, you tell me if this is your experience or not. When we were learning geography, what I learned about the country of Rwanda, I learned about the perimeter, how big it is, how many regions and stuff like that. But the one thing that I remember kept coming back was the fact that Rwanda was a landlocked country. And I remember, learning about what landlocked countries are and all the different landlocked countries. And these are the countries that didn't have access to ports, access to the ocean, access to the sea. And what that meant, it meant we didn't have any commerce. We were taught early on how Rwanda did not have any mineral resources, that we didn't really have shit. In other words, we were dealt some fucked up cards. That's what my teachers taught us, where we're landlocked. And I think just that has had that perspective of looking at ourselves as, I'm landlocked, or, this and this happened to me, this and this happened to me, and all these cards, all these odds are against me. I know for me personally, it's had an impact in how I looked at the world, until I realized through, again, life experiences, that it doesn't fucking matter whether you're landlocked or what you have or what you don't have, as much as whether your mind is locked or unlocked. And I'm going to expand on this. Again, this is my own personal life story. Right now, as I'm talking, and this is something that you get to see if you do subscribe to my YouTube channel, but the slide, the screen that I have right now in front of me is a picture of myself. I think like 12, 13 years old. I am wearing this Nike jumper that's reflective. It has like a reflective band on it. I'm bald. I'm like half smiling, half not, thinking I'm cool or whatever. I think I had just learned to put my hands forward or something, like, when you pose and you're standing up and your hands are forward. The reason why I chose this photo is is just wondering, like, what the fuck, what's going on in that kid's mind? Right? And as I was thinking about the first thing that I wanted to share after the intro to this podcast, I wanted to go back to that time when I was that young. And I want to give you some numbers here, and I want you to work with me, right? I want you to give you perspective. And this is an experience that I share with a lot of people that went through the same thing as me. So this is not just for me, but I'm just gonna give you some numbers, and I'm gonna ask you to do some calculations. Not crazy, but imagine this. I want you to imagine that every week, you're since you're 6 years old, right? So you start school. You're 6 years old. And every week you have 3 hours. You get 3 hours to learn English. 3 hours a week. Okay? 3 hours a week, you learn English. And, English is not your first language. So you got to start with like, hi, good morning. Good is an adjective. Morning is a word. Said, you got to translate to whatever language you can understand. By the way, these other languages, you don't necessarily understand them really well. You're learning French. All your education system is in French. But French is also not your first language. It's just your language of education. When you step out of class, you speak a totally different language. Okay? So, let's make sure you got that. That you're basically in a soup sandwich of languages. And there's this language that you just learn 3 hours a week, where they come and teach you what he is, what she is, what it is, what they is. And, they, we, all that kind of good stuff. 3 hours a week. You're 6 years old. Now, let's say that you're in school full time, 3 months at a time. Okay. This is the only time you get to use English in those 3 hours. So if you do the math, 3 hours a week, that is 12 hours a month because you're multiplying 3 by 4. And then because you're in school 3 months at a time, that's 12 hours a month times 3, which gives you 36. So that's a semester, right? I had 3 semesters, so times 3, that's 108 hours a year that I spent learning English. Now, I was in school in Rwanda before I came to America from 6 years old to 18 years old. That's 12 years. Now, 108 hours times 12 years amounts to 1,296 hours. 1,296 hours. Now, that is how much English I was given. 1,296 hours. Most people were given. If you grew up in Rwanda and you study in the French system, that's the maximum hours that you could have studied or learned English. How much is 1,296 hours, you ask? Well, if you take 1,296 and you divide that by 24, that gives you 54 days. Less than 2 months. In 12 years of my whole education, I learned English. I practiced. I was supposed to have practiced. I was given. That's what was given to me. Together with everybody else that was in the same French system, we were given less than 2 months practicing learning English. If that's not being landlocked, if the perspective, if the future me is to be in America, if that is not landlocked, I don't know what it is. Again, odds. What are the odds that I didn't live nowhere else. From 6 years old to 18 years old, I only had what was given to me was less than 2 months of English. Now, the question is, how the fuck am I talking to you like this? Where did I learn all this English? And that is an example that I want to use, the first example that I want to use to drive home at least this concept that I believe that it does not really matter so much about whether you're landlocked or how much odds are against you than what your mind is doing or whether your mind is locked or not. So I'm gonna just get into, how I got to learn English. And for me, something that I've learned is that whenever there's a bunch of odds against you, at least now, back then I never used to say that, but now I just say, all right, I look at myself and I say, all right, Nelly, well, Merry fucking Christmas, man. Life is not supposed to be easy. Life is not supposed to fucking be fair. I don't know who told you life's supposed to be fair, but suck it up, buttercup. But of course, when I was 12, I didn't really think like that. This is what really happened. I went to a high school. It's a high school in Rwanda, one of the best high schools in the whole country back then. I think it still is. I hope it still is. It's called Petit Séminaire Saint Vincent de Paul. It's a minor seminary. It's a priest school, Catholic priest school that's in Dera. And I went there when I was 12. And this is a whole experience that I'll get into more detail. But I want to focus on how the hell did I take that little that I was given and made this out of it? How did I take, like, I don't know. And this is just like me being honest, and it might come off cocky, it might come off as I'm flexing, but I do not know. And if you know, point them out. I do not know any other Rwandan that was in the same situation as I was that speaks English better than me. Period. So how was I able to do that? With less than 2 months of English practice. All right. So before I get into that, I want to shout out, because I don't think I could have done by myself, I want to shout out my teachers. I want to shout out the people that inspired me. I want to shout out especially the very first person I'd like to shout out, somebody that I don't know if they will ever hear this, but when I was 13 years old, this is a man that, as far as I'm concerned, really changed my whole entire fucking life, but they don't know this. His name is Tabanzane James. He's Congolese national, and he was my English teacher when I was 13. This is a story that happened. And this is where I believe that if you look really closely in your life, you might find some little nuggets of blessings that are hidden in there for you to find and understand and make sense of. So I remember, my memory, and I might be off, but this is what I remember. There was a volcano called Nyiragongo in Congo. Erupted. It's on the border, it's close to the border of Rwanda and Congo. And when it erupted, it dispersed a lot of Congolese nationals that lived nearby. And Rwanda saw an influx of refugees that were coming from Congo, fleeing the eruption of that volcano. And because of this influx, of course, some of the people that were fleeing that volcano, some of them were probably, were teachers and, professionals and stuff. So that next year, when I was 13, in my secondary, excuse me, in my secondary school, we were there for 6 years. So whatever people here in America call middle school and high school, we combined both of them. So when I was 13, that year, we got a new English teacher, and his name was Tabanzane James. I'm talking about this dude was short, stocky, but did not give a fuck. Like, to understand how much of an impression he made on me, my whole entire life, all my teachers of English did not really know English. Some of them, they were from Uganda, came to Rwanda, spoke a little English, but yeah, can't really fucking have a conversation. The English is all fucking broken up and can't really teach it. They have conversation in English, but yeah, their accent, yeah, basic. So, little to say, like, I didn't really like, yeah, I wasn't paying extra attention about English until I met this cat called Tabanzane James. This dude came to my class with um, this briefcase, black briefcase, clean as hell. And when he walked in, he was clean cut, like fresh to death. And he was the coolest, swaggy, freaking teacher I've ever had. And anybody that was in my class could come here and challenge me on this. But homeboy, when he opened his mouth, I remember going, I want to speak like him. That's it. To me, and to understand why I wanted that, I was 13 years old. A year before that, I had literally left my family to go to a boarding school where I was going to spend 6 years, 3 months at a time. This was my new home with 200 other boys. I was trying to find my thing. And I knew I was cool as shit. Deep down, I knew I was cool as fuck. I knew nobody could touch me, right? But I didn't have this thing, right? Like my thing. I remember soccer was just kind of quite my thing, but like there were people who were badass at soccer. And when I saw Tabanzane James and how he spoke, I was like, bruh, I want to speak like this guy. And then another person I want to thank a lot is another teacher of mine. His name is Father Dominic Okwada. It's a Kenyan national, taught me English, looked up to him. Another super, like, this is the person that taught me not, like, this is a person I looked at and I learned how not to give a shit. Like, this is a priest, black dude, but like, biggest dude I've ever seen, jacked. His forearm is like my fucking whole leg and just commands authority, but also does not give a shit, because where I grew up in Africa, right? In Rwanda specifically, the Catholic Church was like the biggest church. So, and I went to pretty much like the Harvard of Catholic schools in Rwanda, if you ask me. And of course, I saw what priesthood was, what the whole church was, and I saw um, the the unspoken respect that priests have to show the bishop, because the bishop, chain of command type thing. But really, I kind of learned that they had to respect them because the bishop was the one that pushes them down or sends them somewhere else. This guy Okwada, this Kenyan dude, did not give two fucks, because unlike a lot of priests who have joined the priesthood out of poverty, which a lot of fucking priests have, I know a bunch of them because I went to school where they make priests, but that's a totally different story. But unlike a lot of priests who joined the priesthood to escape life because they just knew that there was nothing else they could do, um, this guy, he came from money. So he didn't give a fuck about who send him to like a village to be a priest there because he still had his car. He didn't care about no diocese car. He didn't give a fuck. So he would basically speak his mind. This guy taught English to the senior people. So he would come to our school every Wednesday. Every Wednesday at this seminary where basically every morning at 6 a.m. in the morning we had church, we had mass every morning for 6 years. And every Wednesday, this Okwada guy would come to our school and he would run the mass in English. To put in perspective, the whole church is full of young people who barely knew English in my own perspective. But this guy's coming in and speaking in English and stuff. And I remember just going like, yo, I used to, we used to have these books that we would just flip and answer and answer and answer. Like, I was like, man, I want to get to a point where I could just, like, when this guy would talk, he would jump in and, he would give like a whole explanation of the whole Bible verse. I mean, I want to be able to understand that. So to me, that's where everything started. Now, the thing that just took everything to another level for me was when I was 15, to be exact. I found out that there were presidential scholarships being given out by the president of Rwanda to seniors in high school who were graduating with top grades in the country. And when I heard about that, and this is why perspective and context matters. When I heard about that, I had just scored the 20th in the whole country as like the 20th smartest person in the whole country of Rwanda. So when I heard that seniors, which were basically at this point, I was in the 4th year, seniors were only 2 years ahead of me in the 6th year. I heard that seniors who were graduating with top grades. How did they know top grades? The whole country has we had this, national exam that everybody had to take, and then they would grade you accordingly. So the seniors who were graduating with top grades were getting presidential scholarships to go study in America. And when I heard that, I remember going, who's going? Like, is there anybody that I know that went? And yeah, one of my boy went. This dude called Mahalo Pacifique, right? Like he was on the list. He was getting to go. He was like, yo, you could do this. He started, I started kind of hitting him up. We're playing ball together. And I was like, yo, you could go. This is a guy that lives in the same neighborhood that I live in, like some slum somewhere in Rwanda. So, shit, I went back to the math. 3 hours a week. It's not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. Because what I learned that it did not just suffice to get good grades in high school. After you graduated and you got great grades, what ended up happening was you would have to take a bunch of other battery tests to qualify you to be picked by these American universities. So I was like, wait, what? So you graduate with these top grades, and then what are these tests that they give you to do? So I learned that they give you the TOEFL test of English is not your first language or something like that. So some standardized English tests that everybody that wasn't born speaking English gonna take. This is written English, spoken English, where you sit down and you listen to, some conversational American conversational English, and then you gotta figure out what they said. And you got to read a bunch of like text and newspaper articles to summarize what they're talking about. And after all of that, then the universities will take the top performers out of the top performers, the ones that performed well in English, and then they would give them interviews. You would interview with these Americans to see if they like you enough, if your English is well enough to take you to their universities. And by the way, all this is full ride scholarship, meaning I wouldn't have to pay a dime. To put this in perspective, I was poor. I did not know, I did not see any future for myself. And I don't know if I'm the only one, but I did not see a future for myself in Rwanda, because the more I looked around, I realized, holy shit, I'm getting closer to graduating. I'm starting to look for jobs around, and don't look like, I have enough connection to get jobs. I don't know anybody. My dad is nobody. So how the fuck am I going to get a job once I graduate? Because, I graduate high school. There's a whole year that I got to wait before I go to college. And then go in college. Yeah, I go, check a box. I mean, we all know how university in Rwanda is, right? So I looked at that side of the story, and I looked at America on the other side of the story. But the other side of the story, where America was, there was a huge, huge, huge mountain to climb of English. So I decided to go after it. And I'm gonna share what I did. But I think a lot of people just assume that, oh, you just gotta go do that. I'm a strong believer. So far, at least, I've learned that confidence is not something that you're born with. Confidence is something that you build, something you create, something you make out of fucking nothing. I've learned that confidence is a lot of you seeing yourself do shit that you never thought you could do. And the next time around, you look at yourself and you compare whatever the fuck you're about to do with the thing that you just fucking killed. And if that thing does not measure up to whatever the fuck you just killed, you're fucking confident beyond doubt that you can fucking murder whatever the fuck is in front of you. That's what I believe. So how did I have so much confidence that despite all the odds that I had in front of me, with how little English I knew, and what I knew I had to have, what level of English that I had to have to even qualify for this scholarship, for this American scholarship. I want to explain to you where I got that confidence, right? And before that, when I got to this high school, just like every other Rwandan, every other African, unless you're different or unless your experience was different, but I grew up, I was born in 1990. We're talking year 2002 when I went to high school. So, that's perspective. I played a lot of soccer. Like, that's all I played. I mean, I was fucking good at it too. And when I got to boarding school, again, this is 200 boys. There's a basketball team, there's a volleyball team, there's a soccer team, there's all kinds of teams where our school gets to play with other schools, inter schools, like competition and stuff like that. And, I went to school with just all boys. Like, that shit was boring. No girls. Like, for 6 fucking years. I don't know about you, but that shit was boring. So I remember when I first got there, I mean, I knew the school was dope, but like I knew I was going to be miserable for 6 years not seeing any shorties, right? So I remember when I was deciding I was like, okay, what sports am I going to play? I was like, okay, I'm going to go play soccer. And I started playing soccer and I did some recon and I found out that our soccer team sucked because everybody else around us was stellar soccer teams. I was like, man, fuck that. Like, because every single time they would play, other teams. They will lose, meaning their team, our team, will never go outside of the school to play other teams, i.e., meet girls. And I looked at myself, I said, you know what? Fuck that. I'm not going to join a team that will never get me outside of the school. That means I'll never meet a girl, period. And I did not like the 12-year-old me did not like those odds. So I said, what other team is doing good? Because I could play for that team, or I could try for that team, which, increases my odds of meeting girls. And the team that was the coolest, dopest team was the basketball team. And full disclosure, where I grew up, the way I grew up living, I did not know. Again, I did not know of the game of basketball. That's a fact. I was not aware. Like all these like NBA, I did not know about. I did not have TV to watch these fucking games. That's what I want you to understand. Basketball to me, this was the first time I saw it. I saw a bunch of dudes dribbling and, like cool dudes, just like swag out. I'm like, that's what I want to do. But I've never dribbled a basketball before ever in my life. And by the way, there were only two basketballs in the whole fucking school. Or I guess like four, whatever. It was limited number of basketballs where a young, fresh, like kid who's in first year in their 6 years, the seniors were playing with all these basketballs. So I never really got a chance to touch a basketball. But I was so committed to learning this game that me and everybody else that was into this whole commitment, we would be shooting oranges. Okay? When people will be going to take showers and all the basketballs are kind of put down and the courts are open, this priest had orange trees. I'll go and grab an orange and I'll go to the free throw line and I'll shoot the fucking orange. I'll practice my shot with an orange. And when I'll be in school and I'll get a break, 15 minute, 20 minute, you know what we will be doing? We'll be in the hallway shooting the orange through the freaking gap of the steel rods that are holding the ceiling, practicing the shot. I was 12 years old. Fast forward, 13 years old, when I was second year, 6 years, right? In my school, the rule was, or the seniority rule was, nobody really got to try out to redshirt for the basketball team unless you were in the third year. I was the youngest person to sit on that fucking redshirt bench, playing basketball, training with my idols. And they thought I fucking had a game. I would be sitting on the court when everybody else would go play soccer, whatever. I couldn't play soccer. I knew I didn't want to play soccer. I knew I wanted to learn basketball. When the team, the school team was practicing, when I was supposed to be playing with other kids, my age and everything, I was on the fucking sideline looking and studying the moves of every fucking player on that team. So when I got on that bench that young, that was the first time in my whole life. And by the way, this is, I'm 13, this was the first time that I realized, holy shit, I can make myself do anything. This is a game that I didn't even know existed. And this is a game that I'm playing in my own right at the highest level, at least the level that I knew. This is the highest level. This is the best of the best wherever I am. And I'm playing at the highest level. I was not even aware that this game existed. And there's a bunch of other people that knew this game existed because there was a bunch of people that, had there was this NBA newspaper that would be sent out, Cinq Majeur. And like, if anybody played basketball, y'all know what I'm talking about. People would cut posters. I did not know who the fuck any of those players were. It's like, like Magic, Kobe, freaking Dwight Howard. I did not know who the fuck these people were, right? And here I was 13 years old on the bench playing a game that I didn't, and I was pretty good at it. You know what I'm saying? I became the captain of this fucking team eventually. And I was like, oh, boy, you something else. So when it came now time to commit to learning English, I had zero doubt that I could teach myself a language I did not know, even though, I kind of knew, because to me, I looked at it like, you know what? Merry Christmas, Nelly. Let's figure this shit out, right? So here's what I did. Through what I learned, shooting an orange to learn basketball, the one thing that was apparent to me was the importance of practice, of putting in the time, of doing the work, of literally you have to think, breathe, whatever the fuck you say you want to do. And as a result, I reckon, I gotta practice English as much as I possibly can. But how the fuck do you practice English in a French system, education system? And by the way, and this is, if you're from Rwanda, you probably understand this more than anybody. Rwandans, we're the kind of people, and this is kind of a shame, but I'm gonna put it on the record anyway. We have a crab mentality where if I see you doing well, naturally a lot of Rwandans I will fucking hate. I will laugh at you. So to explain the kind of pressure I had at at that age, was I was about to go against the grain with 200 other Rwandans, and everybody was going to ask me, like, who the fuck do you think you are, thinking you can speak English? And every mistake that I was going to make, I was going to be laughed at. Again, if you're Rwandan, you understand what this feels like. So I said, fuck it. And these are some of the people I want to give a shout out because of the support that they gave me, but also for going through life with them. And I'll just read them out and I'll tell you how they matter and why they matter in my life and why they matter in this story. I'll start with this guy. His name is Doctor. You gotta add PhD after his fucking name because he's earned it. His name is Gabriel Mohida Gihana. This man, if you go to his LinkedIn, you'll see Gabriel Mohida Gihana is the Mark Foundation for Cancer Research Fellow of the Damon Raymond Cancer Research Foundation at UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, Texas. He holds a PhD degree in genome, cell, and development biology from Indiana University, Bloomington. His current research focuses on the intersection between cell morphology and molecular signaling in cancer. Mohide Gihana is passionate about cell biology research, and he has experience and a strong interest in both conducting and teaching research. He has mentored high school teachers and several undergraduate students in the laboratory of Dr. Sonny Lesfield. And he has taught laboratory courses in cell, molecular, and general biology with a deep desire to participate in the progress of research in Africa and for Africans. Mohida Gihana is a co-founder of AfriSnet, Africa STEM Network, an international nonprofit organization that seeks to expose African students and young professionals to modern research around the world. When he's not in the laboratory or working research outreach project, Gihana plays soccer, chess, and sings in choir. That's one. Number two, Joseph Desire Muhidwa, Cost Control Project Engineer at GLF Construction Corporation. He's currently working on SW First Street Basque Bridge or Droz Bridge replacement project valued at $71 plus million. This bridge is over the Miami River. He controls and monitors project running costs through tracking and recording all project expenditures from equipment vendors, material supplies, subcontractors, project workforce, overhead, and outside technical service. Okay, that's two. Three, This is my brother, Eugene Munyanziza. He's a professional engineer, structural engineer at that. He's an experienced structural engineer with a demonstrated history of working as a steel racking and foundations engineer in the renewable energy industry. He is OSHA 30 certified, skilled in RISA 3D, SAP 2000, STAAD Pro, AutoCAD, Microsoft, and Solar PV. He's a professional with a bachelor's in civil engineering from California Baptist University and a master's of science in structural engineering from California State Polytechnical University. Okay. And the guy I told you, Pacific Mahoro, is an engineering manager at Blend. Is self-driven. He's a software developer with over 7 years of full stack development. He's passionate about software application with strong emphasis on better experience and real life impact. And then there's a gentleman, Gide Van. He's a global trends analyst at Cullen International. To put it mildly, this dude is a lawyer. He works for one of the most international companies, and he's a global trends analyst. To put it in layman's terms, the shit that you see, the technology that you end up using, he is a lawyer that works on making sure that the billionaires that make this shit ends up profiting from it. Okay? And then, last but not least, Regis Sangwe. Studies of data science and quantitative research in natural resource. He writes a lot. He writes somewhere. If you go to nisengwe.ghost, that's GHOST.io, you find his writing. Why am I sharing these people? When I found out that 1,296 hours of English in my whole 12 years of education was not going to cut it, I, with these people who were also driven towards the same shit, we're like, yo, let's create an English club. So me and Gabriel, Regis, and Mahoro, we were like, yo. So Regis and Mahoro were ahead of us. They were 2 years ahead of us. Me and Gabriel were in the same class. We're like, yo, let's start this English club. And the goal of this club, because there were a bunch of clubs, right? There's a bunch of clubs for like Scouts, Red Cross, all these clubs. So there were, student created clubs. And we decided, yo, let's create an English club where basically the rule is to speak English in and outside of the club, whether you're in the club meeting or outside, i.e. living your life on campus. You cannot speak any other language but English. That idea is why I'm standing here speaking like I'm speaking, because with this idea, we created ourselves an environment where we could practice more. I took an extra step, and in our high school, and I don't know about you, wherever you went to high school, boarding school in Rwanda at that time, but they did not accept us to have radios. Fucking cell phones were another thing, but radios, cannot have them. Talk about controlling people's fucking knowledge. So, but we still had radios. I would sleep with my radio, with my earphones tuned in to Voice of America. I would sleep listening to English about some shit that I did not know, did not understand, but I just knew that was the practice that I needed. I wanted my brain to not think in any other language, to not do anything else but speak, think, dream in English. My goal was that one day when I could have dreams in English, that will prove to me that I know and I'm naturally fluent in English. And that time eventually happened. But in that English club, when we were basically getting together, what the fuck were we doing? Well, remember that priest that I told you? Came up with the idea of, hey, we could actually, because this priest, now I was one of the senior classes, he only taught 4, 5, 6 grade people. So he would come teach us. So I pitched, this is when I started realizing, holy shit, I have some entrepreneur, mindset, that's further down the road. But I approached this priest and he will come and say mass every Wednesday. And he would teach us 2 hours a week. And part of his class was he would bring us newspapers from Kenya, because he was Kenyan, and they were all written in English. And he would give every one of the students a newspaper. And his thing was, hey, pick a topic, pick any topic, pick any topic, any news piece out of that newspaper, and I want you to go in front of class and tell us about it. Summarize it for us. Everybody had like 5-10 minutes to get in front of the class, no newspaper in hand, and tell the class about what you read. And some of my students now enjoying the 5-minute recording videos. Hopefully you know where that came from. That's the seeds of that came from there. All right. I was 16. So now when he would do that, everybody hated those moments, because you know what? If he came and you went up top and you bullshitted him, like you read the shit when you didn't, or you don't know what to say, because he gave you a whole fucking month to read this shit, he will whoop your ass. And I told you, his forehead was like a whole human being freaking leg. So yeah, he would whoop that ass. And everybody was scared of him, but he was a cool dude. So one day, I don't know, I'm looking at the problem at the school. Everybody getting their ass whooped. Nobody freaking knows what the fuck to say in church because nobody understands English. I see a problem. I want to learn English. I see a solution. So I approach this priest and I go, you know what, Father, quite a look at this. The reason why, I kind of give him the, 1,296, hours kind of pitch. I'm like, it's unfair to expect us to know all this English. But what if we did something about it? What if? Because it's all practice. It's all about, we can't really speak and talk like we were born speaking English when we really don't. Every day we don't do that. We don't, after you go on, we speak other languages. So if you want to help us, I have an idea. It's like, what do you got? I'm like, what if? Because we have all this time after school where we're playing, and after we're playing, we're studying. We have our own personal time where we can study. Would you consider, because it was priest, it was rich, he had access, he would go outside of campus. I said, would you consider bringing us some movies in English? And we started an English club, and we would basically get together and would watch them, and then when we watch them, we'll do exactly the same thing that you make us do with your newspapers, which we'll get together, talk about them, and eventually we'll get better. And taught them about the size of our English club, and the goal was to sensitize the whole school to be the English club. He bought it. He was like, what movies do you want? And we made a list of all the American Pie movies. Hey, I was 16, okay, but we watched them. And that's when, eventually we grew up, and that's when President Obama was running for president. I mean, all the debates and all these things. But to kind of fast forward this whole long story, everywhere I was, on the basketball court, on a table eating, anywhere. I mean, this is public, And I know that there are people that went to the same school that I went to. If anybody has any, thing that I said that is not true, please come through and, say your piece. But my recollection of me at that time, my mindset was by whatever the fuck means necessary, I'm gonna get there. I remember, like, as a side effect, the names that I read, all of those names were in that English club. Anybody that were part of that English club when I was there, everybody was able to get themselves out of Rwanda, and they're doing some crazy shit. I'm not saying getting yourself out of Rwanda is a proof of success, but I'm saying wherever the fuck they are, that English helped them make that jump. That English practice helped them change their lives. That time that they put into that English with me, with all of us, changed their lives. And going back to my own story, not only the people that were in that English club, the people that sat on the same fucking table as I did when I was in charge or responsible for this table, everybody had to speak English. I was in charge. Every fucking person. Like when I was a senior, everybody that sat on my table, fifth, fourth, three, two, one. You're not talking to Nelly in any other language. You speak to me in Kinyarwanda, I'll speak to you in English. I don't care. You don't like it? Move the fuck on. I was laughed at, made fun of, but eventually people start catching on because they start realizing, holy shit, I remember, with this priest dude, his newspaper assignment, man, I would fucking murder that. And I remember I started seeing the looks like, oh shit. The looks that you get when you see other people put in the work, you don't put in the work, but then you see the result and you don't have the result. That kind of fucking look, right? So then, of course, got to 6, right? Got to take the national exam. Of course, I fucking blew that shit up, right? Nailed it. Scored really high. Heard my name called on the radio. We go to this office. They say, hey, you guys got a presidential scholarship. There's all these universities that want you, but you got to take this TOEFL. You look it up. Look at what TOEFL is. If you haven't heard about it, it's a test of English that's not your first language. Bruh, I was listening to Voice of America for fucking damn near 4 years. Fuck you mean you gonna make me listen to Americans speak and tell you what they saying? I know what the fuck is going on in America. I'm in Rwanda. So when they give us this TOEFL, again, I do not know anybody that had the same fucking situations that I have that's better at English than I do. Because when we took that test, this is a test that we took with everybody that had qualified. I think it was about like 100 people who were English speakers, people who were in an English system, because in Rwanda there were two systems. There was a French system and there's an English system when I was growing up. And now it's pretty much everything is English, thank God. But then, the people who, those are the people who grew up speaking English. They grew up in Uganda, they grew up in Kenya, they grew up wherever the fuck, their parents, put them up on English. And there were people like me, you know what I'm saying? Like grew up in a fucking gutter, like made shit happen. Boom, we're here because we could study. Now it's like, yeah, motherfucker, like, are you gonna cut it? So we get to this TOEFL thing, right? And yo, tell me why I get the best fucking score of everybody. Every fucking person. Hey, at least as far as I'm concerned. And then everybody's like, yo, what the fuck, man? Everybody start asking, who's Nelly? Who's this, Nelly kid? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, yo, what the fuck, man? Hey, okay, so after the TOEFL thing, we gotta do an essay. At this point, I'm fucking livid. I'm high as shit. You know what I mean? So we go do this test, this essay. And I remember what topic they gave us, but I ripped that shit up. And they tell us, who passed it, who didn't, whatever, who didn't fucking left. I don't know what happened to them. But at this point, we gotta do the in-person interview. there's a bunch of Americans that came through. You see them dragging their bags. Whenever there's an American in the room, anywhere the fuck, it's an American. Okay, there's this black dude, fucking swagged up, bold. These white people, and at that point, back home, I fucking worship white people or some shit like that. So they pull up, and they go into this conference room and they're interviewing everybody, and eventually my time comes. But people go in and they come out and they're shook, because again, this is, you gotta understand, growing up from where I grew up, this is a NFL type of fucking deal. This gets you out of the fucking hood. This sets you up for life. This says, deuces, bitches. Yeah, my parents are nobody, but I can fucking make it. I'm out of this bitch, right? So I get in front of these people, right? And it was a university, California Baptist University in Riverside. Get to this table, this big ass table. I remember, it was like, I think it was like three people sitting across from me. And it was like this rectangular table. We're all sitting on the long edges, sitting right, facing them. Behind them, there, these big windows I could look outside. I was nervous as shit, but I remember I sat down. They're like, "Hi." I'm like, "Hi." I'm like, "So, Joseph Nelly Super Segura." Yep. So, why don't you tell us about yourself? Boy, ripped them a new one. I went in confident as fuck. I remember just going like, "Hey, my name is Joseph Nelly Super Segura. I went to PTSM in data. I did biology and chemistry and Latin. And yeah, I'm excited and looking for the opportunity to hear more about your university." I don't think I said it like that, but I remember what I heard from them. I remember when I said what I said, I remember their eyes going, like, in their heads, if you could do a face for, "What the fuck?" That's what they did. And then one of them took them, whoever the boss was, he was like, um, "Hey, are you Rwandan?" I'm like, "Yeah, born and raised." "Why?" So how's your English so good? And I just laughed a little casually. I'm like, I don't know, practice. I've been preparing for this moment, 3 years ago. I know I was gonna be here, so I put in the time. And the rest was history. You know what I mean? So that goes to show you what being landlocked and being mind locked could do. So if you listen this far, this is the moment where I tell you, I pull the curtain back and I actually introduce the first season of this whole walk the talk journey. The first season is called, or is going to be about, digital self-reliance. I'm going to be your digital self-reliance coach. What the fuck is digital self-reliance? It's basically what that is. We're in the world right now, and I know we're going to be in the world where being self-reliant digitally is going to be the difference between you being able to feed your family or not. And me personally, anything I want, really, like, digitally, I can make. Like, right now, this podcast that you're listening to, I put this shit together in 48 hours. You know what I mean? And my since since I figured out this whole tech thing, I've been looking at things and people, and I've been wishing, man, I wish people knew what they I wish they could just see this. I wish they could do this. And I started this thing. If you've been following on Instagram, you probably noticed, where I would just give people ideas on how they can make money online, different things that they could do, all kinds of stuff. And I started going, you know what? I think it would be really cool to kind of, to coach people, to advise people and make money out of that. And I kind of looked at myself in the mirror and the engagements that I've been having with people, the people I reach out and tell them, hey, I can help you. Hey, I see you have like, 10,000 followers. I can help you make money on this thing. And then, they'll, leave my shit read. I even, this is name dropping, but fuck it. This is my podcast, right? So um, I'm gonna just do something that fuck it, you hear it. But to kind of show you that I might know what I am doing, right? So let me go to this DM, right? I hope it's not deleted because people be deleting their DMs these days. Okay, so listen to this. Actually, let me play this in not okay. So I'm gonna play this here. And if you know the name, you know the name. If you don't know, you don't know. What is it?
Wow. Man, nuko turi mu bihe bibi nyine, turi kubura abantu bacu muri iyi minsi. So it's such a tough times right now. Ariko ahubwo wowe ikintu wamfasha, man, like, do you have an idea y'akantu kaka promo reel nakora kabyo too? Because I need I need to promote e program to the fans, and just like I'm trying out I just want to try this thing out and they man. Because we do have a lot of people that love us and just want to support, hanyuma umenya ibitekerezo by'uburyo how na making this this whole thing interesting kugira ngo gikomeze kutwika tu.
So yeah, that person, right? That person is a star, right? And like, yeah, a star. And from watching the things that I've been doing, that they were like, "Yo, can you help me?" But I also know that there are other people that I wish to help, that I've reached out to help, but I've kind of put myself in their shoes. And I'm like, Nelly, if they were looking at you, if you were looking at yourself, why the fuck would you hire yourself as a digital self-reliance coach helping people make money online or whatever the fuck it is? Why? Why would why would you hire yourself? Yeah, you've taught and, teach software engineer, but there's really no proof that you can do this shit that you say you can. So what the fuck? So after I looked at myself in that mirror, I came back with like, oh, okay, I have no resume. I have no project to show that I've grown it, that I've built a whole brand, that I'm making money. Roger that. I don't have that. Copy. I'm going to go create it. So I'm creating this walk the talk brand to show you that, yeah, this kid Nelly knows what the fuck he's doing. So you might want to hire him if you want to make some money. So that's what this whole thing is for me. And I'm using it to show you that you too can do it. And this is where the whole, are we mind locked or are we landlocked? I spent my whole life, or at least the big portion of my career, teaching software development, teaching web development, the intricacies of how apps are made, how websites are made, how pretty much everything you use digitally, how most of them work. And I believe that for me to be able to teach that, having been given a deco card where there was no computer in there was no English in there, and I'm at a point where I could teach people how to build software applications, even though I never knew what the fuck a software was. I want to use that story to use everything that I've learned to build this brand and to teach anybody who wants to learn how you can do the same thing. So here are two things. A, this digital self-reliance journey, I'm inviting you on it. And I'm going to make an offer. I'm going to make an offer to 10 people. 10 people that are very, very committed. You have to be very, very committed. I do not care whether you have a brand or you don't have a brand, whether you've been working on something or you haven't been working on something. I don't care where you are. I don't care what nationality. It would be really dope if you were African, because I deeply, deeply believe that digital self-reliance is one of the major keys that will unlock our continent from poverty. Because right now, a lot of us think that if your government is not giving you a job, there is no job to be had. There is no money to be made. But I'm about to prove to you that I can make money without anybody giving me a job. If you want to learn that, if you want to learn how to build your brand alongside me, I'm opening up a coaching thing for 10 people, 10 committed people. I'm going to be sharing details about this. So follow me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, pretty much more so on Instagram. But follow me. I got really, really good news for whoever is one of the 10 people that's very committed, that want to build their brand alongside me, use some of the lessons that I'm learning to apply to their brand. 2, watch the fucking throne. You can either hire me now, I'll be cheaper, or you can hire me later to be your digital self-reliance coach when I'm more expensive. So if you want to hire me, this is an open call, then I'm pretty cheap right now. 3 months from now, I will not be. And with that, I'm going to leave you with this question. Are you mind locked? Or are you mind unlocked? Until then, I'm going to catch you on the other episode. And I was your boy Nelly with your Walk the Talk Teacher podcast. This was Is Mind Locked and Is Landlocked. Now that everybody's gone, to anybody that want to know what that whole title is all about, so in programming, right, and this is something like, if you want to learn programming, hit me up. I'm gonna be creating courses. Check out the YouTube channel, subscribe to it. But this title, basically, see those two words, is mind locked, and then there's 2 ampersands in between, there's is landlocked. It's pretty much a conditional statement. Same thing, like imagine you're a bouncer at a club, and basically your rule, your goal, your boss told you that they don't want anybody who got tattoos to enter. Basically, they only want people who don't have tattoos that are older than 21, right? And the first thing you check before you check the ID is you look on this person's body. If they got tattoos, you don't even check their ID. You just like, yeah, sorry, can get in. So that those 2 ampersand signs, that's like, only check the second thing if the first thing is false. So basically, in this conditional statement, if your mind is not locked, it will not matter whether you're landlocked or not. If your mind is not locked, pretty good to go. Actually, that's not true. I should have put an or in there. I should have put a pipe in there, because is mind locked or is landlocked. That's when being mind unlocked does not check the second condition. Anyway, if you want to learn about this stuff, check out my YouTube channel. Again, it was your boy Nelly with the Walk the Talk Teacher Podcast. This was Is Mind Locked or Is Landlocked, which I fucked up the title, but hey, peace out. See you next time.